Real Madrid's whole squad is always looked at as world class and the Untouchables, the Galacticals. But if you look at it from an honest point of view, who are the 5 players that actually are untouchable at this Real Madrid team? And I'm telling you now, some of the biggest players in this team are gonna miss out. Let's get straight into the first player. Now, I'm pretty sure that this is not gonna be a surprise for anybody. Thibaut Courtois is the #1 untouchable player in this team just because of his consistency and his ability alone. His ability alone, his talent, what he has done before, what he's doing now. And you could see he got injured just before we got to play Bayern in the UCL and those league games against Girona and Mallorca, which we lost or drew, and we lost against Bayern. And I mean, I think Lunin is a great keeper. He can offer you something ridiculous off the bench as a bench keeper. I think he's great, but you could just see, even when Lunin is a great keeper, he is here. Courtois is here above the screen. Guys, his ability is, in my opinion, still underappreciated. Because, people say he's the best keeper in the world. Yeah. But I genuinely think he might be the best keeper of all time, or in those top 3 keeper conversations. Because if this guy wins another UCL, that would be 3 UCLs for him. And he has lost one with Atletico Madrid, if you remember, of course, 2014, when he was there on loan from Chelsea. And even after that, he was getting disrespected at Chelsea. I remember those near post shots against him and nutmegs against Messi in the UCL. But he came to Madrid. He got absolutely slandered. But after that 2022 UCL campaign, and even, in 2024, when Lunin did all the work, he won us that final against Dortmund. Because if you know, that final was won by Courtois, not our players. We were meant to concede a lot in that first half. League consistently performing, I don't have to say anything else. Thibaut Courtois, for me, is the #1 untouchable in this team. Now, #2 might surprise some people, because last season, this guy was getting booed in the Santiago Bernabeu, and he wasn't even playing his best position. Of course, if you're a Madrid fan, you already know who I was talking about. It is, of course, tchouameni. Last season, pushed out to center back, slandered by his own fan base. I was genuinely, even myself, I was considering Zubimendi over this guy. Do you know how bad that would have been? Look at Zubimendi now. Start of the season, overrated by Prem fans. This nice Spanish midfielder, this and that. But tchouameni has proved everybody wrong, even myself. I will put my hands up fully. This guy is one of the, if not the best, center defensive midfielder in the world. Even now, Caicedo is having stinkers week in, week out. Chelsea, falling off. I think Joshua Kimmich and Pavlovic are, in those conversations. But, oh my goodness, as a center defensive midfielder, tchouameni has turned his career around. Mentally, I think he's much better than last season. That actually, what happened last season when the fans booed him, it helped him. It didn't turn him over, and that's the Real Madrid mentality. This brother has the Madrid mentality. My only issue with tchouameni is that sometimes he is a bit complacent, and he doesn't use his abilities to their best potentials. I'm not gonna lie, even tchouameni, I've seen his, interview with some American Donnies on their podcast, and him saying that I always am the biggest enemy of myself. He actually does this a lot. And the same goes for Camavinga, but Camavinga does this even more. They usually can play even better than they are actually playing. That laziness, I don't know, that, just not giving it their all. But tchouameni has gotten a lot better. And if he polishes his game, for me, he's undisputed #1 6 in the world. Genuinely, I think, physical and this and that, he had it already. He's tall, he's strong in defense. He can now pass better, much better. He needs to get better in those fine little margins in the UCL and in those La Liga games when he gets complacent. Other than that, I think tchouameni is 100% untouchable. I don't think he's above the other guys, in the pecking order that I'm going to mention further down in the video. But I genuinely think tchouameni, for the turnaround he had, and, for the 6 market that is now being presented, I think he's one of the best, and he is untouchable. Now, for the next guy, I think this is the biggest surprise, for me at least. And one game changed it all for me, because I would say this guy turned around against Bayern Munich, and you already know who I'm talking about. It is the Turkish wonder kid Arda Güler, and I'm just gonna be completely honest, at the start of the season, he was having a field day with Kylian Mbappe. But you know, after that Atletico game, when we lost 5-2 in October, I think it was, that was our first loss of the season. But then we beat Barcelona in the El Clasico, and he didn't have the greatest of games. He gave actually Barcelona that one goal they scored in that game. From that point on, he was a bit inconsistent, okay? He had glimpses of, you know, greatness, flipping those passes in the UCL, for example, against Benfica to Mbappe. Even dribbling-wise, he had some good, you know, matches, but he was just inconsistent. And, you know, for a few matches, it looked like that Xabi Alonso even, and Arbeloa, he was just out of it. He was out of the lineup, or he was on the pitch, just not doing too much. I was slandering him for you know, his defensive abilities and for how much, you know, off the ball stuff he actually doesn't do. He actually has to get much better off the ball still. When you perform like that against Bayern, when you actually show people that you are here and you are here to stay, that's all I need to know, bro. Because, okay, you don't perform against Mallorca. You don't perform, I don't know, against Girona. Who cares genuinely? You are at Real Madrid. You are at Real Madrid, because I know that if you can perform like that against Bayern Munich, because yes, Neuer gave us that goal, but he scored it. Neuer, I know he wasn't the greatest on that free kick, but he scored it. He ran the game. In the second half, he was defending. He was doing everything. So I know that if you can do that against Bayern, you can do those things against Girona and Mallorca. It's just a mentality thing. If he gets better mentally, if he locks in next season, and we make signings that make the whole team better, which I hope so that we will do, you know, we will strengthen our depth, we will strengthen, you know, the defense, especially, which will help Arda Güler relieve, you know, some of his defensive duties in the midfield and focus more on the attacking side. And we can probably see that Jude Bellingham and Arda Güler are actually meant to play together. Not that they can't play with each other, because this gimmick, I remember it was going on for months and months and months when Jude was injured. He came back after an injury and people, you know, expected for them to click right away. What is this? Can we not be serious for a second when it comes to football in 2026? People just think, oh yeah, Arda Güler and Jude Bellingham, they're going to click straight away. No, it takes time. Jude Bellingham takes on a more defensive role against Bayern, and he does everything on the pitch. When Arda takes on, you know, more of the attacking role, the guy that's behind the strikers or the attackers. They can intertwine, they can interchange, like Fede Valverde, for example, does with Trent Alexander-Arnold, which we did miss against Bayern Munich, of course, because tchouameni was suspended. But you can see that they can play with each other. We just need time, and Arda Güler is exactly that player, that if you give him time to develop, he's going to be sensational. He's going to be sensational. One thing that Arda Güler needs to get better at is, once again, mentality, of course. As I said, that goes for a lot of our midfielders. But his defensive approach against Bayern, in my opinion, was perfect. Do your defensive duties when they need to be done, when you need to rest and, you know, scan the field. I know what it is, how to play a 10, you know, that midfielder that needs to do everything on the pitch. Broski, just get better at defensive duties, and when you put on some more muscle, because I know last season you were looking skinny, bro. This season you put on some muscle, you were looking better and better, and I hope if Arbeloa stays or the next manager comes in, he gives you that hope once again, like Xabi Alonso did, because this kid just needs hope. He needs somebody that believes in him, and when you believe in Arda Güler, he's gonna deliver. And I already talked about the partnership. I think the next guy is one of the most untouchable people in football right now, and he proved it once again against Bayern Munich, that he's not some goal merchant or a tap-in merchant like people say. It's just delusion, honestly. The next guy, the English superstar, the guy who can do everything, the guy who's better than Pedri, the guy that actually plays good in big games, it's gonna be Jude Bellingham. What more do I have to say? People don't believe in you. People slander your name after you had one of the best seasons as a newcomer to Real Madrid. One of the best seasons from a new signing in football and in the UCL as a youngster. But people still disrespect you. And you were not even playing your best position. You were just doing bits in another position. And people say that you are a striker. You are a false 9. You showed them levels against Bayern. You are an 8, 10, 6, everywhere. You are everything on the pitch for Real Madrid. You are a brand as well. You are a big name. You bring in money, but you bring everything to the pitch when you are on your best. And that's what I need from Jude Bellingham. If Jude Bellingham is on his best, we can beat anybody in the world. He can score, he can defend, he can drive with the ball, he can beat players one-on-one. Everything. He's good in the air as well. Once again, he does everything on the pitch. And what is the most important thing in football right now, at least for me, it's versatility and availability. Availability, once again, Jude Bellingham. Your shoulder injury and the shoulder, the injuries you had before, they need to get better. Of course, the availability wasn't the greatest this season. We know you of course are probably disappointed with that, but you have the rest of the season to just charge up, go to that World Cup, and if Thomas Tuchel doesn't pick you, fuck that brother as well. How about that? England fans saying, oh, Morgan Rogers, Cole Palmer. Broski, put your Prem bias aside. This guy shits on Palmer any day. This guy shits on Morgan Rogers. He shits on every Prem midfielder as well. And you know it. He's the best player England have right now. Maybe alongside Harry Kane. If somebody says Saka in the comments right now, I genuinely hope Manchester City put 17 behind you today, yeah? Hate what's coming in. Don't you worry. Jude Bellingham is the star of England, and he should be the star of Real Madrid as well, because he is actually the player that won us the 24-23 season UCL, and he should have won the Ballon d'Or, not Vinicius Jr. or Rodri. Yes, it might be a hot take, but let's be honest, guys. Who was doing it for the whole season? Who was doing it as their first season at Real Madrid? Who was doing it under the pressure of that 105 million price tag? Jude fucking Bellingham. Who else? He's 100% untouchable. And the last guy that I'm gonna mention, it just all came down to having Xabi Alonso as his manager, underperforming like hell. Arbeloa comes in and shows us who this guy is. It is the one and only El Falcon, El Capitano, Federico Valverde. And I'm gonna be honest, guys. He was getting a lot of hate at the start of the season. Is he really the captain? Should he be wearing the Atom's captain's armband? Can he develop under, Xabi Alonso? Can he stay on his game? Was it just a fluke under Carlo Ancelotti? He needs free reign under the manager. He can't be, that cruise role. And yes, guys, we misprofiled him completely, but that's one of the biggest strengths a coach can have. And I'm gonna big up Arbeloa in here because I don't do it a lot. I still think he's completely out of his depth at Real Madrid, and sometimes he just guesses, and glazes players. But this is where he hit the jackpot. He gave Fede Valverde the perfect turnaround he needed at this season. He started scoring goals. He started to be more on the ball. He started to be more connected with the fans, and he started to look like more as a captain. And all he needed was a change of position, a little bit more free reign, on the pitch, which Fede Valverde needs because he's so versatile and did everything for Real Madrid. Right back, right mid, center mid, CDM, everything. But when Trent came back, now Trent is not going to be one of the untouchables yet. But Trent unlocks Fede Valverde, and Fede Valverde unlocks Trent Alexander-Arnold. If we had tchouameni and Fede Valverde was at that right side with Trent against Bayern Munich, I think we win that game. It's that simple, because Fede Valverde, when he has somebody that can attack and defend behind him, that's where Fede Valverde shines. He's genuinely like Steven Gerrard. He can defend, he can do everything on the pitch, but, it's not like Jude Bellingham, because Jude Bellingham, of course, more attacking, better on the ball, but Fede, defensively, is a monster. He's also much faster than Jude Bellingham, which people, usually don't give him credit for, because, yes, he's, that pace and power, but he's actually one of the fastest players in this team. He's one of the defensively most comfortable players in this team as well. He's strong. Oh my goodness, his availability is like second to none. He's always there. He can always play, and he always gives you a minimum of 7 out of 10. That blip with Xabi Alonso, I genuinely don't know what happened, because, Fede Valverde was playing really bad. He even came out at the start of the season and said, I know I'm bad. I literally know I'm cheeks. Right now, I'm cheeks, but I'm going to give it my best, and I'm going to fucking come back. And he did exactly that. Unfortunately, this season was enough. But I think the players that I have mentioned at least gave us something, this season, or they have proven me wrong against Bayern Munich. You might have, be surprised I'm actually gonna go full screen for this because those are my untouchables, okay? Courtois, tchouameni, Arda, Jude Bellingham, and Fede Valverde. As I mentioned, Trent for me is really close because no way we are selling him. He just came in. He came in a free. And when I see him play, actually, you know, because injuries, once again, availability is not there this season. But when I see him play, guys, he's a different breed. Kylian Mbappe and Vinicius Jr., you are not untouchable. Vinicius Jr., your credit in the bank is done. After these 2 seasons, yes, you did everything for us, but next season, you are not untouchable. And Kylian Mbappe, let's be honest, broski. Your credit came from you being one of the best players in the world, if not the best player in the world, when you came to us. But 2 seasons trophyless, and you are not performing like you were, you know, World Cup Kylian Mbappe and vintage PSG Mbappe. So you are definitely not untouchable. Some people may have considered, you know, maybe Militao or these guys in the midfield, maybe even some youngster that could be coming in. But let's be honest, guys. Let's just have the most honest conversation, yeah? Kylian Mbappe or Vinicius Jr. are not untouchable. Youngsters in this team are not going to be untouchable. I don't even class, you know, Jude Bellingham and Arda as youngsters because they are starters in this team. And Jude Bellingham has done more than most senior players in this, you know, in this game. Not even at Real Madrid. But we need these players to step up, who I didn't mention. I am expecting these players, these untouchables that I just said and bigged up. I put my faith in them almost in every match, yeah? I think Arda is one of the most surprising people there, and tchouameni, of course, you know, looking at last season. But the players that I didn't mention should be looking at themselves and saying to each other, bro, how the fuck am I not even in this list? How am I not considered? And that's on Vinicius Jr. and Kylian Mbappe. And I know Militao and these guys, you know, they are supposed to be here as well. But if it's injuries, if it's form, if it's mentality, if it's, you know, the last season performances, oh my goodness. I didn't forget what happened last season. You didn't forget what happened last season. And this season was even worse. We went trophyless once again. That's why I mentioned only 5 players as the untouchables. You have to look like you are untouchable, Vinny and Mbappe. And if Perez wants to bring in, you know, talent and doesn't want to bring in schooled veterans that actually know how to play ball, yeah, I don't want Carreras, another Carreras. I don't want another Juan Santuono. I don't want another Hoysen. I don't want these players from I don't know, random ass leagues or Premier League that just look good for the brand or they just look good for the future. Perez, sign somebody that can be an untouchable. I don't care if he's 25 or 29. Sign somebody that can be that untouchable once again. And Vinny and Mbappe, I'm looking at you for next season. But let me know if you agree with this list. Please, guys, if you enjoyed this video as well, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thibaut Courtois, please stay at my club for the rest of my life. Peace out.